Hey guys, it's Mike here, and a little while back, I ran a poll on my channel, which was talking about if the Super Saiyan God boost was retconned. Well, you see, I actually went fully in depth going into making and recording that video for all of you, but this is before I realized I don't really like to make these types of videos anymore where I go super in depth into editing. And thus, as a result, I'm going to send this all to you guys in a way that you could watch it right now, and you could see what I intended for the most part, but the other parts that I didn't edit there, I'm just going to throw in little disclaimers, little lines here on the screen that tell you, just imagine what it was. You guys have seen my other videos. You could check them out if you haven't. You guys have seen the anime and the manga. You could check them for yourself. But as far as I'm concerned, all the points I make are valid. So I hope you enjoy the video and stay tuned for more. Was the Super Saiyan God boost retconned after Battle of Gods? Did Goku actually retain that power within himself as we were told in the movie? Or was it changed over time to give the other characters a better chance? Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, we're going to be going in depth into that subject, bringing up evidence from the anime, from the manga, and what really is the solution here. Did Goku retain the power of Super Saiyan God in the way that people believe he did, or perhaps was it something that went away over time? Well, I actually discussed that over on my community tab that you guys can see right here, and as of right now, it seems like the majority of people say that it was not retconned. And I'll get into the rationale behind the yes versus no in this situation. And with that being said, let's get into Battle of Gods. When Goku is fighting against Beerus, there is a moment in which he drops out of his Super Saiyan God form into his base form. During that point, he is still able to fight back against Beerus, who actually seems like he's been trying even more. Now, in the movie, when Beerus throws his attack at Goku, he tells him that he hasn't realized it, but he is no longer in the form of a Super Saiyan God, whereas in the anime adaptation, he is fighting back in his Super Saiyan and his base at that time when he's repelling the blast. Now, in the manga, he's still in his Super Saiyan God form when he repels this attack. I will be getting more into that soon. But again, it's told by Beerus that Goku absorbed the power of Super Saiyan God in the anime variations, the original movie and the adaptation of it in the remake arc in Super. This explains why Goku can continue to fight back as a base form against Beerus and his Super Saiyan form. That being said, it does raise the question right then and there, well, which form is the one that he absorbed Super Saiyan God into, and how does he actually activate and actualize that ability? So for instance, did Goku, when he was his base form, have the same level of power in Battle of Gods, and then when he went Super Saiyan, he multiplied his Super Saiyan God power, and he was like 50 times stronger than his Super Saiyan God at the time? I don't think so. I don't think that there's really much indication of it. He was somehow getting stronger and adding more of his power into attacking Beerus, I suppose, but it's never really explained exactly how that works. Furthermore, in the anime, we do see that Goku actually overcomes Beerus' sphere of destruction in his base form by, well, punching it, which is, Super is writing in a nutshell. Is that a factor of Goku bring all of the power to the forefront? In the original movie, Goku taps into his Super Saiyan God again. We see blue aura flying into him, and then he bursts forward with the God form and destroys Beerus' sphere of destruction. In the manga, of course, he is getting beaten by Beerus at this point. He's saying that Super Saiyan God is not enough to win, but he says that I can still get even stronger than this, and he then fires an attack and destroys it, leading to Goku now being in his base form. Now, a lot of people say that because in the manga, as you could see, we're never told that Goku actually absorbed the power of Super Saiyan God, that it is not a part of the manga continuity or itself is not actually canon. However, this is not correct, because the fact of the matter is that in the movie and in the anime, it's said to be the case. And remember, Toriyama made the Battle of Gods movie with Toei. He came back, he rewrote the movie and changed things, and that is what we got on screen. It was not something that was just made up by somebody else, and so the fact that it isn't in the manga depiction is not to say that it is not part of the main continuity or of the continuity of the movie or Super. Furthermore, not just that, but when Battle of Gods was being adapted in the manga was still a shorter promotional variation of the story. Look how short the fight is between Goku and Beerus compared to in the movie. They just skip over so much of the things like the failed ritual, Gohan finding out that Videl is pregnant. They just say it in like one panel because it was super rushed at the time, no pun intended, or maybe it is. So it's entirely possible the reason why that wasn't said in the manga is just because of the fact that they were skimming over everything. I mean, look at Resurrection F. They just skip over it and go immediately to the next arc where Goku and Vegeta are training. But again, we're never actually told that Goku did not absorb this power in the manga. After this point, we do have Goku and Vegeta training in the anime, and we see, for instance, when they're clashing, they're learning how to power up their power in their bodies. They go to punch one another, and we see this blue aura. The same blue aura that is also displayed when we see Goku become a Super Saiyan Blue in the story. Initially, when Super Saiyan Blue is introduced, it is called Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. And that means, as Goku explains, it is what happens when a Super Saiyan God becomes a Super Saiyan. It was almost like this was the replacement for Super Saiyan in general, when Goku had obtained God Ki. Now, one of the things too, a lot of people believed that Goku, in Resurrection F, for instance, actually had a God Ki base, or that he always used God Ki at this point after his training with Whis and Vegeta, and that in turn, when he powered up to Super Saiyan, Super Saiyajin, he would always be a Super Saiyajin God Super Saiyajin, or, you know, he's Super Saiyan God right now in his Beyond God in his base. And when Goku and Vegeta in the anime version of Super are trained together inside of Whis' staff, we see that they learn how to power up their ki within their bodies. In Super, the anime, and in the manga, it's only really made to seem like they're really using God Ki in their God forms, specifically Super Saiyan Blue and eventually Super Saiyan God. But there was another tournament before the reintroduction of Super Saiyan God in the anime, which entailed them fighting against Universe 6. Now remember, before Universe 6, Goku and Vegeta trained inside the hyperbolic time chamber for 3 years. And at that time, they said they got a lot stronger. Then they go into the Universe 6 tournament. And it's very clear that the Universe 6 fighters are much stronger than the characters in their base forms. For instance, Frost was able to defeat base Goku before he even goes into his final form when he's in the Xenomorph form. He even flies through Goku's Kamehameha, just like Cooler did in the Cooler movie when he was overpowering Goku. It's only when Goku becomes a regular Super Saiyan, which again seems to contradict the idea of the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which becomes blue, that he is able to in turn defeat Frost in his final form when he powers up. Furthermore, we have a scene where Vegeta is fighting against Kaba, and Vegeta says that Kaba's power is equal to his in base form. So a lot of people at this point said, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. It's not lining up with what we heard before. Goku absorbed the power of God into his base form, and so did Vegeta because he's a blue now. So as a result, that must mean that Super Saiyan God level base forms are now fighting against these characters, and the fact that they also have multipliers on top of them like Super Saiyan, which again, why does this form exist anymore? Because we're kind of told it won't anymore. And then, like, for example, in the following arcs, this continues to be compounded upon. Fans started to think either something was retconned or Goku and Vegeta have more than one base form. I saw other channels, for instance, doing power level lists or videos talking about the God Ki base, and that Goku and Vegeta during the Universe 6 tournament and the Tournament of Power are fighting against characters when they're not utilizing their God Ki base, and thus as a result these characters are a little bit stronger than characters from, like, you know, the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga. Frost must be a little bit stronger than Namek Frieza is a thing I heard a lot of the time. This character is actually a little bit stronger than Cell, and it's like that's not ever said anywhere in the story. It's just said that they absorbed the power. And that's another major thing. In the anime, they say that Goku absorbed the power, but the second that Goku is fighting as a Super Saiyan, everyone can sense his energy. It's a lot stronger than before, but they can still sense him because he's not using God Ki. The only time it's ever said Goku is using God Ki or Vegeta is when they are in their God forms. And this whole scene right here, when they're inside of Whis' staff, is explaining all of that to us, that God Ki is a kind of way that they condense and power up their ki within their bodies in order to utilize it. However, when they do that, the only time people can't sense their power or what they're doing in any particular attack, again, is when they are Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God, and so on. But that's another problem that comes up because people have this major question with regard to this. When Goku's fighting against Dispo in the Tournament of Power, we see that he is able to shift back and forth between Blue and Super Saiyan God, a form that nobody thought was ever going to come back who saw the anime at that point. But in the manga, we know that this actually already debuted an arc before when Vegeta was fighting against Goku Black and was shifting between Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue back and forth, which is an idea that Toyotaro put into the story that he initially put into Dragon Ball AF when he wrote it under the name of Toyble. So this is something that a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't make any sense. How can Goku become a Super Saiyan God if he absorbed the power of Super Saiyan God? How does he get another boost on top of his forms? This must make it to where characters like, for instance, Future Trunks, who is able to fight against Goku in his other forms after he shows up and actually has the advantage over Super Saiyan 2 Goku, for instance, and the manga is shown to be somewhere equivalent to Super Saiyan 3. This must explain that Trunks and the other characters like Kaba and everyone like that are not actually anywhere near as strong as Super Saiyan God, but rather are instead a little bit stronger than Dragon Ball Z characters for the most part, except for like the fusions and stuff, and thus in turn, that's why everyone in the Tournament of Power can give Goku a good fight, and etc., etc. And honestly, I don't think that there's any real evidence whatsoever to support this. I think that this is just something that fans have made up in order to try and justify Dragon Ball Super's bad power scaling. That's really what it comes down to. The power escalation in Dragon Ball Super does not line up with what we saw in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Characters in Dragon Ball Super can just train really hard off screen and become far more powerful than Super Saiyan God from Battle of Gods. Even though in the anime and the manga version, we saw that Goku and Beerus, when they fought as Super Saiyan God and the God of Destruction, were destroying the entire macrocosm through shockwaves that rippled out and got stronger and stronger and stronger as they went on. There are a lot of people who will be like, well, we saw just how powerful this feat is, but we don't see Trunks doing this. We don't see any of these other characters doing this. Yeah, but that's just because it's inconsistent, or because, as we saw in Battle of Gods, the only reason that was happening is because they didn't sync up their punches. So theoretically, tons of other characters can do the same thing, but they don't, because it isn't written that way. That's really what it comes down to. In universe, there is zero statements or evidence that at any point says the characters are actually not as strong as they were with Goku's absorbing the God form's energy, the power, the level of power, which is really what they're saying, comparative to everything else. It's just a fan theory and cope, let's just, use the words of our time, to try and say that all the characters are weaker than the God forms from Battle of Gods, that they're weaker than Super Saiyan Blue, and so on. It's the same issue that we encounter basically every single time that Goku fights against somebody as a Super Saiyan Blue, like Krillin, for instance. We see that Goku charges up a Kamehameha, he shoots it at Krillin, and Krillin is able to briefly push it back, and we see Goku is surprised. I'm not saying Krillin here is as strong as Super Saiyan Blue Goku right here, but what I am saying is that it's very much clear that Krillin is stronger than Battle of Gods Super Saiyan God Goku. That any character who can fight even somewhat relative to Goku at this point in time, based upon the way the story has been written, is stronger than Super Saiyan God Goku from Battle of Gods, because Goku, after this, he went on to train with Vegeta and Whis and got much stronger. He went on to train for 3 years in the Time Chamber and got much stronger. He got way stronger in the Goku Black arc from the start to the very end based upon numerous feats, like his fight against Hit as a Super Super Saiyan Blue, where he matches him without even using the Kaioken when Hit is even stronger in the fight where Hit initially killed him in that episode. All of these things add up to show that Goku's base is way stronger. And a lot of people also are like, well, maybe it isn't because we don't really see him doing a lot of feats that indicate this. That also is not true. Goku and Vegeta show that they easily and effortlessly can defeat Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks in their base forms in the Potafu arc. We also additionally see that Goku in his base form fights against Fit Buu, the Buu who trained with Mr. Satan. There are numerous different instances of characters being shown to be way stronger than fans make them out to be, because that's how Super is written. I know that this is just something that people want to create this kind of cognitive dissonance in their head in the Dragon Ball fandom, to where it doesn't make any sense, and so it must not be the case. But the thing is that it doesn't make any sense, and it is the case. Those are not mutually exclusive where they bounce off each other. They are mutually inclusive because that's how Dragon Ball Super was written. Any character who in the Moro arc, Granola, so on, can fight against base Goku and Vegeta and actually push them and force them to transform and stuff like that, like we saw with Krillin in this arc right here, he forced Goku to become a regular Super Saiyan. He overpowered Goku's base form. That means he's stronger than Super Saiyan God. Does it make sense when we factor in Dragon Ball Z? Does it make sense when we factor in the manga continuity? The answer is no, because again, Dragon Ball Super's power scaling is not consistent with what we saw before. They get insane power-ups. Android 17 trained off-screen for years and then was able to, in turn, be stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku in the tournament to power up until a certain point, because we know this because he was fighting against Jiren, who was much stronger than he was when he fought against Kaioken times 20 Goku earlier on and stomped him. I did a whole video about how strong 17 was, including tons of evidence that is basically irrefutable, like when he took punches that were like immediately intended for Evolution Vegeta and he kept getting back up. It just goes to show you, as far as I'm concerned, that no, the Battle of Gods absorption was never retconned. It was never changed. It is just something that was made insignificant, like every other power-up in Dragon Ball up until now. Super Saiyan seems like an impossible way to be able to overcome Goku's power, but the other characters did it time and time again. There were androids who were introduced stronger than the Emperor of the Universe. Some evil being from millions of years ago just shows up and he's stronger than Super Saiyan 2s and 3, depending upon his form. It's just hard for fans to rationalize it in their minds, this idea that, wait, Super doesn't make any sense in the way that it's written comparative to the previous continuities. I mean, there's tons of plot holes and retcons anyway that should already tell you that anyway. But as we could see, it is never said that it's retconned. It is just something that we have to accept, that these characters are that strong. Future Trunks is just that strong and can fight characters that are multitudes and magnitudes of power with the multipliers of the different forms. If we still want to say they exist, I'll do a whole video about that at some point. And the fact of the matter is that we even see Trunks in the very same arc fighting Rose Black, stopping an attack that was meant for Super Saiyan Blue Goku and beating him in their little exchange and kicking him into a wall. This happens time after time after time again. People ask again, well, how exactly does it make sense for Super Saiyan God to show up? Simple. Super Saiyan God is a multiplier on top of Goku's already powered up God form. It's almost like he used God twice. He cubed it. But the thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the multiplier is actually the same as it was when Goku used in Battle of Gods with the ritual. I think it's a lot smaller than it was back then, and that is kind of shown again, evidentially, in the series, time after time, when Goku is literally using it next to other forms that are supposedly way weaker, but then he'll use it instead of Super Saiyan 3, for instance, or it does not seem like anywhere near as big of a jump between 2 to God when he usually does it, or even between God to Blue. But that's a video for another time. So now is the time, guys, for you to let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think it was retconned? Do you agree with this video? Do you disagree? I'm sure I'll know for a fact because you're going to comment down below. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future. Trunks, and he'll learn it on his cell phone too.
Y'all, and you better subscribe.